yo, what it do? It's your boy, Yellow Boy, and I am here today with Miss Regina Huber. Miss Regina Huber wears many hats. She's actually an author. She also does inspirations, inspiring the audience, self-empowerment. There's so many things that this woman does. You will definitely be astounded and appreciate her work. So please, Miss Regina Huber, first off, thank you so much for joining YTP Entertainment. We are definitely glad to have you. And please, by all means, let the audience know what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I was really looking forward to this morning. And I'm always delighted to inspire people. So I'm really curious about what comes up during this chat with you. And for me, just in a nutshell, I grew up in Germany, as you can probably tell from my accent. But I've lived abroad, I've lived abroad for a long time, but not always in English-speaking countries. Sometimes it was Spanish, at other times it was Portuguese. So I've had a really adventurous and eclectic life that eventually shaped me into who I am today. Professionally, I work as a transformational leadership coach. I also do inspirational speaking in several different ways, in person, on platforms like this. Always delighted to be sharing my wisdom, which I think have accumulated a little bit of by now. I'm 59 now, so I've had some time and lots of opportunities to build resilience for sure. It's been pretty much a roller coaster life. I did grow up on a farm in a little village in Germany.
Okay.
I was the shyest kid in the village. However, and this is from my dad's side of the family, I believe, I always got this adventurous spirit inside of me and also insatiable curiosity. And that's what pushed me out into the world. I've been moving a lot. I'm a passionate nomad. At the age of 19, I moved to my first big city, Munich at the time, and then the cities grew bigger over time. So it was Madrid, Spain, did a lot of work in Portugal. From there, I moved to Sao Paulo, Brazil, Argentina, Buenos Aires, San Francisco, New York City. Right now, I'm in Miami Beach. In the last few years, what else can I tell you? I've traveled a little bit more on the African continent, mostly West, East, and South Africa, not so much in the North, although many years back I did go to Morocco. Anyway, it's just like a very eclectic conglomerate of things and experiences.
That is awesome. I love it. That is totally awesome. Getting to travel the world like this is definitely an experience a lot of people want to actually have. I myself would like to have that experience too. And it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. It's interesting in good ways and in more challenging ways.
Oh, okay.
But that's what
the challenges that you face. What
yeah.
you face?
Yeah, so I have discovered this pattern in my life that I oftentimes have had to deal with corruption. I haven't always done this voluntarily. It's not fun for sure. Yeah. But as I said, yeah. Right. But as I said before, life has given me all these opportunities, which I didn't always consciously choose. Although now I do see why, in hindsight, why I had to deal with these situations and challenges. It has all been for my personal growth. It's also in a way prepared me for what's to come in the world now, I believe. It's certainly going to be an interesting year, and it has been an interesting 3 years. And I believe that, I'm a little bit better prepared for that now. Now, for example, in Argentina, when I moved to Argentina the second time, actually, the first time I went there with it wasn't really a job, but it was an exterior consultant role, so to speak. So I still had sort of a job, and I was there for about a year. But the second time I moved there, I went all by my own. I left my leadership role at a consulting firm in San Francisco behind, and I took the risk. I took everything I had and all my money, and I decided to open a bed and breakfast in Buenos Aires.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I found a house. But soon I also found out that buying a house in Buenos Aires was a little bit more adventurous than I first thought. So in Buenos Aires, at least at the time, you had to pay for real estate in cash. So you sit around a table in a meeting room in a bank and you literally count the money. What that meant is I had to transport all that money from where it was to the seller's bank. And so on a hot summer night, I found myself carrying several $100,000 at the time in my socks across the city of Buenos Aires. Can you imagine one wrong move? And all my savings could have been gone. So that was my first adventure down in Buenos Aires, my first big one. But also then I, as a business owner, I had to deal with a lot of situations that had to do with corrupt authorities. And, you know, it's sort of like you cannot really comply with the law properly because I had an investor's visa. And I was, through that investor's visa, I was bound to invest in a business and employ somebody and open the business within a year, which was challenging enough, but I did it. I had the house built out, and, you know, build outs in Buenos Aires were a little bit slower than what I was used to at the time, but it worked. I made it happen. And I opened the business. I even had some clients already. Now, what happened next is you're also supposed to have a license for that business, but they don't give you the license within that year. And I think they do that on purpose.
That's great.
Yeah. So I found out later that actually hardly any, if any of the other bed and breakfasts actually had a license. Now, of course, then they knock on your door and they want money, right? So under the table. I did never pay them off. I did not want to play this game. I just, you know, I didn't want to give into corruption. I wanted to work within the system and make it work for myself, but I was not prepared to give into this corrupt apparatus. And for me, that would have meant to fall out of integrity, you know. So I risked the fine. They fined me. Then I contested it. And I defended myself in court pretty much. Now, here's a good thing. I was lucky because the judge was not up for colluding with corruption. And so I won the case. Nobody paid me my expenses back, but I didn't pay the fine. And more importantly, I didn't sacrifice my integrity.
Yes.
And I stood up for myself.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, now that right there is some women's empowerment right there for you.
I think it's just self-empowerment in general, really, you know.
Hey, but being a woman and being able to be empowered, you actually set an example for other women, especially women who are walking along the same path and doing some of the same things that you're doing right now. They may not have had the courage to do it because they may not have understood that they can do it, but listening to you after this video, they will know.
Absolutely. I didn't let myself be intimidated, but that was just not some special courage, really. It was just an inner drive. I couldn't do it differently in a way, because giving into corruption would just not have been aligned with my values. It might have been easier, but it wasn't aligned, right? So
Well, we know that not everybody does the same, or not everybody feels the same, but not everybody reacts the same. Some people have different reactions, and some people are intimidated by things like that. And being that they don't understand that they can actually do something, they'll let the fear control them rather than to be controlled by themselves or their own intuition and knowing what to do. So
Right.
that's something that's important. That's something that is definitely a good tool to share with the audience and let them know, hey, don't let anybody push you around because you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did it again in Brazil. In Brazil, it cost me more. It ended up costing me my residency permit. Uh, However, I couldn't do it differently. It cost me a lot of money. I was already about to potentially leave Brazil, but my idea was to stay there part-time. So I left all my things there in storage, a lot of which were stolen. It was a very painful experience, my Brazil experience. I love Brazil. Look, I love it. I love the dance. I had a fabulous time dancing Samba de Gafieira and all the other dances. I love to dance. I had a really good time in the city of Rio, Rio de Janeiro, especially. I lived in Brazil twice. The first time with a job for a short period of time in 1997, yes. And then later on, after Argentina, I moved to Brazil again, this time to Rio de Janeiro. And I love the city. It's beautiful. You have the rainforest in the middle of the city, you have the ocean, the beach. It's just amazing. However, it's also a very challenging city, right? Especially for small business owners and for brick and mortar businesses.
Okay. Definitely. So
Yeah.
what is it because the rules or the laws are different? Are their taxes pretty high there?
Yeah. Well, it's very corrupt in that sense, so for example, you never know exactly when the paperwork is done. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of paperwork, and if there's anything that I'm allergic to, it's paperwork. It really triggers me at this point, because it takes up a lot of your time, a lot of your money, because in Brazil, I had everything had to be certified, every little signature, every copy page of any document, right? So first you always had to go and have that done, pay for it, pay for each page. Then you have to submit it. You need a CPA, of course, to do all that because it's quite complicated. And then you still never know when it's done. And so it was just like, I guess some neighbors also didn't want us to have that business there. So there was some weird stuff going on, really, like dead pigeons landing in the patio of that house that I had built out for the business. And it was a holistic business, so holistic healing methodology and dance. And for that, I had partnered up with for the dance part, I had partnered up with a business partner only for that part, and had paid for his name and everything. But eventually I figured out that he was actually fraudulent. So just after opening the business, I found out, which then, didn't make any, my entire business didn't make any sense anymore. It without that name. So it was just too hard. And after trying, I figured out I had to close down this business in which I had invested over a year of my life, all my savings ever, and a bunch of time and energy. And, eventually I lost a lot of money through that experience. And my whole world was falling apart at the time. I will never forget how that made me feel, because my confidence was completely crushed. My self-esteem was gone. And it took me a long while to move out of victim mode and into a more self-empowering mindset. It was a long process. But I also eventually recognized the blessing in this experience. It taught me to take full responsibility for my life and for this experience, and to really learn how to step into a more self-empowering mindset. And I also, I like to say now, when life gives you lemons, make a whiskey sour. Right. So eventually I was able to, to sort it all out, to sell the business and to rebuild my self-confidence, also with the help of the holistic healing modalities that I had studied and with the help of some friends who had studied similar or the same methodologies, and they helped me through this as well. Mm-hmm. But it did cost me my residency permit because I was still wanting to keep my residency. I loved Rio de Janeiro, but they kept losing documentation. Now you have to know that I had an investor's visa again. In order to renew that visa, I had to submit documentation that, like this, right? Like an old phone book.
Okay.
Everything had to be stamped and certified. So a lot of money went into this documentation, a lot of time went into it. But they kept losing pieces of it. Now I already submitted this. I have a witness. My CPA did this with me. No, it wasn't there, blah, blah, blah. And I was flying back from New York at times for this, right? To wait at that place for the entire day and figure out what was going on. But they kept losing documentation one after the other, right? And the guy gave me his cell phone to call him to pass money under the table. But of course, I never called him. And so I lost my residency.
Too much. That is too much. So I noticed that, like myself, you are also an author. Please tell us about your books, Speak Up, Stand Out and Shine, A White Paper, and A Signature Framework, Powerful Leadership Transformation. Please tell us about your books.
Yeah, sure. So I have one book that I authored all by myself, and I'm not a poet. I love poetry, but I'm not a poet. That's not my special gift. My book, Speak Up, Stand Out, and Shine, is about tools that I needed after this experience in Brazil when I moved to New York and had to build a new network and wanted to build a new business, my current business, my coaching, speaking, and teaching practice, Transform Your Performance. I had to speak to people about a business that wasn't even built yet at networking events, so it was challenging. I came up with tools to mentally, physically, and energetically prepare for those challenging situations, including public speaking and all these different, networking situations. And that's what I put into this book, Speak Up, Stand Out, and Shine, because I figured these tools could help other people as well. I still use them, not as many maybe every time, but I still love the energy tools specifically. And I share them often with people. It's on Amazon as Kindle and print. And then I have co-authored a few other books, which are also on Amazon. The white paper is about leadership. You can get it if you write to me, to my email, transformyourperformance.com. And it's a few years old now already. So I definitely also have some more recent documentation and articles in magazines. I have a LinkedIn newsletter for people who like to read. And I have a YouTube channel if you prefer to watch videos.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it. So what inspired you to write the book about the white paper? That's very interesting that you would title it. What inspired that?
Yeah, so the white paper was, at the time I was working with some leaders in the diversity and inclusion arena. In the meantime, I have moved away a little bit from that because it's too politically driven for me. I don't really think everything that is done in that arena is in integrity, and I'm all about integrity. So that's the reason why. I believe that, every single one of us needs to be respected, considered, recognized with our own unique brilliance. We need to look at people more. But at the time, I did interview a lot of experts to also figure out what they were thinking. And I put that into this, I put that input that I got from these people who were sure, they were meaning well. They were all hardworking people in this arena, and they really wanted to achieve something positive. So I totally respect them. It's just like the whole area has become so politicized. And I think it's sometimes, and I think part of it sadly is intentional. Sometimes it does the opposite of uniting us. It actually divides us more. And I don't want to be a part of that. I have created my own frameworks. So these are not books, but frameworks. The Powerful Leadership Transformation is the basis for all the coaching work I do. It has to do a lot with self-leadership, so that then we can better lead others through greater self-awareness, self-discovery, and through also knowing, owning, and showing our unique brilliance. Because each and every one of us has unique genius, and it is a gift to the world. We just really need to be aware of it and have the courage to contribute it.
True that. So walk us through a first time coaching session for someone who has never been coached by you before. How do you approach it?
First of all, I have a discovery session. Some call it strategy session. It could be called anything, before I even start working with somebody, because they need to get to know me. I need to get to know them to figure out if this is even a good fit, if I can help them in the best way intended, and if they also personally connect with me. Because this is, we do a lot of deep work in these coaching sessions. It's transformational coaching. My clients trust me with sometimes deep secrets, and the more open-minded they are, the more progress we can make more quickly, right? So that session is really, really important to figure out, is this even a good idea? Once we have decided it is, and they want to make the investment, and they're ready to make the investment in themselves and in the rest of their lives, because as I said, it's transformational. We work on specific situations, but you take it with you for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Now, once they have done that, they receive a starter checklist where they share even more information so that we can actually really hit it off in the first session and already dive deeper. It is also at the same time a clarity tool for them. It gives me more information, but it gives them more information about themselves too. So typically we go through this starter checklist together, because there's a lot of meat and a lot of content in there. And it helps us direct our future sessions. Now, because people transform from one session to the next, they evolve, and they also evolve through other experience they have in their lives. We don't predefine every single session, right? If we pretty much stay in the flow as we're doing with this conversation here, we define before every new session what we're gonna focus on, because also, of course, their situations change, the people around them start changing as they change. So it is a flow that we follow, but we do initially determine some specific goals or whatever. Some people don't like the word goals. You could also call it something different, desires that they want to have fulfilled, right?
Right. Hey, whatever they want.
Whatever they want and need.
As a coach, we're just trying to get you to a better space in your life. That's basically what we want to do. We want to get you to a better space in your life, something that'll help you
to be better off, not just now, but also in the future. And hopefully you can pass this knowledge and inspiration on to others. That's the goal.
Absolutely. And I help my clients see how tremendously powerful they are, how they are limitless and have limitless potential. I also help them oftentimes when they need that to reduce their stress, become more effective and efficient, depending on what the individual needs are. You know, I just recently added human design onto my big repertoire of resources and modalities because it gives us additional insights. I only learned about human design a few years ago. I've had a few sessions about my own human design, who I am designed to be, and how I ideally would make my best decisions. And I thought this was tremendously powerful. I thought that it could give value to my clients. So I started studying it myself and have learned so much even about myself through this process.
That is so wonderful. You know that it gets deep when the coach can learn something about themselves from the things that they are actually putting out there to others. That gets deep. That gets really, really deep. And I do say that from experience because I help people build their relationships. So outside of my poetry, I'm also helping to build relationships. And I have what's called a virtual gentleman's club. Now, one of my gentleman's clubs is for the men, and the other one is co-ed. And the reason why I call it the gentleman's club is I just felt like it would be something that would transform the way people think about gentlemen or the way people think about men in general. We can bring something to the table that men and women can both have the same likeness and respect for, then you can definitely help a bunch of people move forward in their lives.
Yes. And you know, even also human design can be so insightful for relationships, any type of relationships really, but also couples, business relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships. It's just amazing. If I had known the human design chart of each of my siblings in the past, you know, that would have been very, very helpful. I didn't. And I still think we have a pretty, you know, decent relationship. All of us, I have 4 siblings. But if I had known that, it would have definitely increased my understanding of who they are, why they are the way they are, you know.
That's interesting that you brought that up because I learned at a young age, I was about 12 years old, that my family was my first practice because the family would always come to me and ask me for advice and asking me what do I think about certain things. They always wanted my input. And it made me more and more interested in seeking ways that I can help people to build better relationships. And it's interesting that you also say that romantic relationships, family relationships, relationships as friends, and sometimes what people don't see is parent and child is a relationship. A lot of people don't see that as a relationship, and I found that intriguing that they don't see that because sometimes they get into it as far as having that lack of understanding about how one another works, mostly because of the lack of communication. And it's not that they're not communicating, but they're not communicating effectively. They're not communicating on a level that one another can actually understand.
Yes, I love that. I love that because, you know, communication isn't just about moving our mouth and spitting out words. It's
Yes.
about everything.
Yes.
Right? It's about everything we are, all we are. It's about our energy, our body language, our body, our mind for sure, our heart. I talk a lot about heart set also in business because I believe our mindset is only as powerful as we'll allow it to be led by our heart.
Yes. Yes.
You know? And if you only focus on mindset, you miss out on at least 50% of your intelligence, or rather your very unique wisdom, which is in your heart.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's the heart where we get courage from, whether it's in business relationships or in family relationships or romantic relationships, it doesn't matter. It's the heart that speaks when we are authentic. And nobody wants to be with inauthentic people.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is so true. I think even the people with the criminal minds want to be with someone authentic. I really do. I think that.
We want to be able to trust people. And trust comes not just from our words. Words are very powerful. That is really important to remember.
Yes.
So, words are spelling, right?
Yes.
We say we spell words, and that's really, they are spelling in that sense. They can be, they can have magic power, and they do, but they're not everything. They are only a piece of it. It's our smiles, it's our heart set, it's our the compassion we bring to a conversation, to a relationship, whether at work or at home.
Mm-hmm.
I like to talk a lot about this new business consciousness of compassion, love, and co-creation, and I wrote an article about this. A friend of mine in Zimbabwe, he picked it up and he wanted me to write about that same topic in the context of Africa. So that's going to come out soon for a special publication. And in that article, I focused a lot on the school system also. Because the overarching topic for that publication is organizational development and operational, topics and whatnot. But how can we improve organizations if we don't improve and upgrade our school systems and the way we teach and what we teach? So this is a really important and big topic that's very dear to my heart. It's very important to me, and that's why I chose this. So I'm really looking forward to when this article is published, actually.
For education, no doubt, because without education, a lot of us can't move forward. Some of us can be self-taught to do a lot of things, but the power of education is infinite, and it's just like the old saying goes, knowledge is power. And that's what education is. Education is our power.
Yes. But we don't learn the most important things at school.
True. That's true.
We don't. We don't learn how to step into a self-empowering mindset. We don't learn how to live in a healthy way. We don't learn how to build wealth. We don't learn how to have great relationships. We don't learn co-creation. Quite the opposite. We learn competition and how it's more important to have better grades than you, than collaborating and co-creating something together that could be bigger than if we do it on our own. So these are the things, and I could, the list goes on. I could list 100 things.
That's true.
That we do not learn at school that are so important.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's an intention behind this.
That's true. And everything you said is like very powerful. That is very powerful what you said. But if you think about the foundation of the world that we live in and how the world has progressed now, versus what it looked like in times before we were born. Um, the world is technically built on teamwork when you think about it. Even when there was like 50, 100, 25, 10 slaves in different places doing different things, those were teams. Those people had to work together. Even when you had servants and you had the business people and the traders, the kings and the queens, they all had all these people working in specific places. Those were teams.
Mm-hmm.
The world was built, when you look at it from a different perspective, the world was built on teams. And everybody had to be in sync with one another in order for that particular project to work. And even today, if we want our society to be a better society, our people need to learn to work together. Individualism is okay to a degree, but let's mostly keep our individualism for our personal lives. When we're talking about building an infrastructure that's going to be better for our future, and then the next generation's future, and then another future after that, we need those things. We need people working together.
That's so well said. You know, our individual gifts come in as a contribution to the team. We are all complementary. Yeah, that is the very reason why we're all different. We all were equipped with different talents and skills, different packages, so to speak. We came into a specific environment, into a specific background to do something with that. And then bring it all together into this unique package of who we are. So, you know, that's what I call distinctive uniqueness. And distinctive uniqueness also includes the shadow side of it. It has the unique brilliance and genius on the one hand, and then it has the, you know, our limiting beliefs or anything that's limiting on the other. Some of those shortcomings can be complemented by other people. We are not supposed to be perfect in everything or know everything. It's just that there is some stuff that we need to work on. The limiting stuff, the limiting beliefs that we are conditioned into actually, and also partly at school. I hate to say it, but it's just the truth.
It's the truth.
And and also through our parents who didn't mean to do that. It's just that we all do our best and we sometimes don't know better. You know, they want us to be safe. So they oftentimes, you know, don't allow us to really explore enough for ourselves or to just be ourselves because they think it's not safe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if they didn't have that limited knowledge, at the same time that they have that limited knowledge, the generations after them tend to broaden their knowledge, even if it's just a little bit at a time, they tend to broaden their knowledge. But it's sad and it's shameful to say that sometimes we have to hide that from the people that were before us because they don't look at it, the thinking outside the box the same way that we do. We look at thinking outside the box as an opportunity to grow, to know more, to do more, to be more prosperous. We look at it in so many different ways. But we have our elders who were taught certain things and they're pretty much stuck in their ways. They tend to try and limit us too. And we just, I'm sorry to say, but we just not happy.
Right. And it's, you know, I sometimes would like to just throw the entire box out, right? Throw it out. You know, but also we are not even born as a clean slate. We are not. We already bring a lot of baggage in our genes. That's a fact. We know that nowadays. And we want to clean that and clear that out of our family lineages. So some of us have taken on this task more consciously, and some others, you know, we do it just because we get those opportunities thrown into our lives that force us to do that in some ways. And sometimes it's a combination of both, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But I do believe that some of us are also really, you know, we have become through our lives more conscious cycle busters.
Mm-hmm.
And we break those templates. And also, I, for example, studied a lot of modalities that help us identify and uncover limiting beliefs, subconscious limiting beliefs, because they are the majority, right? And our behavior is pretty much driven by our subconscious to over 95%, in fact.
Yes.
So we really need to look into this. And it's hard to do it on our own. We need some techniques and experts sometimes, but when we get to the root, that's when we can then have this breakthrough and step up to our next level, move deeper into our potential.
Yes, indeed. And those of us who are definitely adamant about moving forward, we want that.
Yeah.
Powerful words, we want that. So tell me, how do you see those things as far as the limited thinking, the limited self-talk things, or the limited things that we learn from our previous leaders, guides, parents, or whomever we learn them from? How do you see that tie into the importance of being related to unique brilliance and distinctive uniqueness?
Yes, all of this is who we are in a way. Now we can, of course, transform, just like, you know, we can turn on and off genes, as we know now. We can transform as human beings, and that's what we are here for. We are here for our purpose, and I think our purpose is, our belief that our purpose is to grow, to evolve, and therefore also contribute to the overall evolution of humanity on Earth, and to make a contribution, to serve through this unique being that we are, and through our talents and gifts, which we then also develop as we move along in life, and that wisdom that we also gain as we move along in life. Now, we also bring, in my understanding, experiences and baggage, and also good stuff from past or parallel lives. That might not be everybody's understanding, and I totally respect that. I have personally gone into some of those experiences, so I have my own, you know, I have gained insights into it. I've done the work, but I understand that different people have different beliefs, and that's totally fine. What's important for you to know is that there is something that you already bring to this world, and some of it is through genetic heritage, through the experiences your great-grandfathers and grandmothers had, your parents had. Of course, I mean, you have a more direct relationship to your parents and more insights, more direct insights. But I was just like, recently looking at family photo albums. I didn't even know these photos existed. They're not a lot, because both my lineages, family lineages, come from farming, and you know, none of them were rich ever. They were hardworking. They were never had a lot of money, but through those photos and through conversations that I had with my mother, I found out that one of the families didn't even have a kitchen, you know, and that was her grandparents, as far as I remember, right? So they didn't have a kitchen back then. So what, you know, that gives me insights also in potential lack, scarcity, limiting beliefs. And I've seen it in my own life when those limiting beliefs have held me back, or when they have impaired my possibility of implementing or manifesting or creating, whatever your word is, the reality I wanted, right? So I had to address these things, but now I also know why, because a lot of it is already in our genes. It's not a bad thing. Everybody has it. I personally even believe that we choose where we are born. Again, not everybody's belief. You're free to believe what you want.
Exactly.
What that though gave me is, and this has been very important to me, like one of the most important insights in my life, it gave me full responsibility for my life. There's no one else to blame now anymore. It doesn't mean I approve of people's behavior all the time. That's very different.
Yes.
And I'm just dealing now with a situation, again, I've been dealing with it for 14 months that also involves corruption. And I'm, still waiting to go more into the depth and into the background of it, because it would not be wise to do that right now. But it's tough. I'm not going to approve of these people's behavior.
Exactly.
I also have not exactly figured out why, I still get those really difficult opportunities for growth. But I know that there's going to be some value in this that I need to learn, and that through which I will be growing even more, even if it's painful while you're in it.
Definitely. And it's a blessing that you're looking at it from a stance where every opportunity is an opportunity for growth, which also says to me, a person of understanding, a person of what we call overstanding, has the opportunity to actually be in these types of situations myself. So I totally understand where you're coming from. You don't 100% have to be safe or use safe words here, because I am on a whole different plane than probably the average person that you talk to. And I ask that most of my audience pretty much be that way as well. And I kid you not, so far so good. The majority has been. Like one lady I just interviewed, she's a shaman, she's a reader, she does all sorts of things with energy and things of that nature. Like, oh my goodness, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So trust and believe, you're at home. You're at home.
Yes, and I can feel that. That's the energy.
Yes.
So my holistic studies started with shamanic studies.
Yes. See?
And yes, I talk a lot about the role of energy in business and business presence. The first thing that speaks is your energy.
Yes.
Your energy speaks louder than your words and faster than your words, because it takes only 0.07 seconds for our brains to figure out whether we can trust someone.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That is so true.
It's a survival mechanism. We cannot escape it.
And that's what I do. I study energies. I practice bending energies. I practice, taking the energies up and down, going in different directions. These are things that I practice, and most of my practices I do meditation. So I'm very open, very familiar, very understanding of pretty much where you were coming from. I knew from the beginning when you were basically using not everybody, which is it's a safe haven for most of us who feel like we have to make sure that we're not insulting anyone. In this day and age, you'll be surprised how many more people are actually coming this way.
Yeah, I can so see that you attract these people, because even when I found you online, right, it just transpires. And when you are so deep in those practices, people can feel it.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That's why I also loved when you said, okay, let's just talk. Let's not predefine any specific questions or topics, or let's just see what flows and what comes out. And I think it's going in a direction that really can serve your audience, your specific audience now.
Yep, but not only my audience now. I also have consideration for your audience too, because maybe you're saying some things now that your audience didn't understand what you said then, and now they pick it up and they're like that eureka, like wow,
Yeah.
okay, now I get exactly what you were saying. So I'm always for both, for the majority. It's never about the oneness. The only time that it becomes about the oneness is when I start my meditation transformation and start going into the energies. And then when I'm pushing that energy out, I want other people to feel that energy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. That's beautiful. And yes, that's that's why we do this in the first place. We co-create a conversation that serves both audiences, because every conversation is different.
It is. It is. Every energy is different. Everyone's understanding is different.
Yes.
Everyone's knowledge on the particular topics in which we come across or talk about is going to be different. And the beautiful thing is we're actually willing to share that information, irregardless of race, color, creed, gender, gentrification. It doesn't matter. We're willing to share this information and let the world know, hey, there is something out here that's different than what you do. And we're not forcing this upon you. All we're asking you to do is listen, possibly give it a try, and take a chance on growing for once in your life different than what you do. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And and then this is why I love this conversation, because it's about being real. Yeah. It's about, we cannot learn from people who fake some roles of who they are not. We cannot really learn anything from these people. And nobody's perfect. So don't pretend to be perfect. No, what we want is the best version of you, but that doesn't mean you need to be perfect. The best version of you is the version that is self-empowered, that is courageous, that is showing your talents and whatever else you have added on to your talents, however you want to amplify your talents, however you want to express them, express your message. We need to hear the same message in different ways from different people sometimes, until it really sinks in with us and we integrate it in a way that serves us.
Right. Yes, indeed. See, that's why we got the candles in the background. People just can't see them, but we have the candles lit so we can be able to transfer through each one of the ethers. You want to transfer through this one, the one that we live in, and being transferred through the one on the other side. But those messages are constantly flowing, the energy is constantly flowing. And as long as people get to feel that energy and understand that, I'm with it.
I have some more over there. I even have a Russian pyramid to sit under. Now I have been traveling and moving so much again, so it's in storage right now, which I don't like, but it's there. I don't have a car, so because I travel so much and whatnot, and have been moving a lot. But I have a bike only at this point, so at some point I'm going to take an Uber and bring it. But yeah, yesterday I brought my crystals from storage on my bike. That I wanted a bike ride, so couldn't bring the pyramid, but at least. So I love, yes, it's lovely to have some objects. The greatest power is within, but sometimes it's just really beautiful to anchor some of of our maybe rituals, or whatever it is for you, your prayers, your affirmations, your mantras, in with something that is physical, because after all, we do live in a physical world. We are humans, we are spiritual beings in human in form and human shape. So yes, we are also supposed to work with material here.
Yes.
And yeah.
Well, I asked some people this one question, and I ask it because we all, like I said, we all have a different understanding. I wonder, how is it that people can be afraid of spirits when we're, as humans, people don't understand that we live in two verses. So we're actually multiverse beings. We live in the spirit world because we have a soul, we have a spirit, but we also live here in the physical world because we have a body. And when we put those two together, the energies and the power that comes from these two, it protrudes in not only this world, but it also protrudes in the other world too. And I understand that they have poltergeists or spirits that come from the other side over to here. But if you didn't have a soul yourself, why would that spirit even want to communicate with you?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's a lot of conditioning. This fear is a lot of conditioning, right? So we're not really conditioned into using our spiritual power and to really understand that, we are all a part of the bigger spirit, that we all come from the same source. God, again, whatever your word is fine. And that there is something beyond the physical and the five senses, right? We are so conditioned to really focus on our five senses and neglect our intuition, neglect our sixth sense, neglect all our other senses, and the energy that surrounds us. As children, probably, I cannot remember that, frankly, but probably most children can see auras. But we're educated out of this. We're educated out of dreaming. We're educated out of visioning, all of the good stuff. And so we're also educated out of communicating with non-human spirits in a way that can be maybe beneficial.
Yes.
When children see things or talk to things or other beings that are invisible, they are told to stop it.
And I don't do that.
But we don't know who they see.
I'll ask them who you're talking to, because I want to see if that being is going to give them a name, but I won't tell them to stop talking to them.
Right.
It seems as if they're upsetting them, then I'll say, hey, stop for a minute, don't talk to them.
Right.
If they're upsetting you, you can go back and talk to them later. That's the way I approach it.
Right. On the other hand, we gotta say, there's not only good out there, there's also evil. So there are those things going on. I personally had quite a few experiences with dark energies, not so much recently, but I remember very clearly living. I had just moved back to Munich from 7 years in Spain and a half year in Brazil. At the time, that was in 98. I was living in an apartment, and I had those nights, and I could literally feel before going to sleep after a while whether it was going to happen or not again, that I would wake up in the middle of the night and being held down, and I could not breathe, and I could not scream, I could not nothing. And I just recently actually came across an explanation when I had a conversation with somebody about this phenomenon, but that seems to be something a lot of people have experienced, and especially women that way, but also men, right?
I have too.
And it's very scary. So what I did at the time, and I had not studied shamanism at the time, okay, but a friend gave me this book and she said, here's some shamanic shields, signs, right? Like drawings. And I made copies of some of them and I put them under my bed and it got much better. So it really helped a lot.
Yes.
I also had, when I moved to Spain, you know, I lived in my first apartment I lived at. The first night I spent there there was nobody living on top of my floor. I was on the 7th floor and there was nothing, maybe an attic. I heard people moving around furniture all night. I was so freaked out about it. I could not sleep. It was, you know, it was an important day at work. I was still integrating the language. I had just learned the language. So it was, you know, it was an effort for me. It was strenuous for me. And I had not slept all night, before I went to work. I asked the janitor if there was anything up there. He said, no, there isn't. And in that same apartment, one night I woke up and my bed was shaking as if there was an earthquake. I literally thought there was an earthquake. I was awake. I woke up. I looked at the clock to see whether I was really awake. I was. And after a few minutes, it stopped. Again, I asked the janitor, hey, was there an earthquake? I saw him in the morning, you know, in the building. He said, no. Wow. Whoa. You know, I had a lot of those experiences in the past. As I said, not so much recently. And they can be scary.
They can be. I've had some experiences too when I was growing up. I actually seen a few dark energies as I was personally going to the restroom one time and just stayed there and sat in the mirror. And I was like, whoa, it scared the heck out of me because I was a little boy when it happened. And I ran out of there, but I never seen it again. Any other time I'm going to the mirror, I've never seen it again. And yeah, another experience where everybody in the house was asleep except for me. And this dark energy, I had to walk past the closet, and the dark energy came out of the closet and was coming towards me. They were trying to scratch me. So I went back.
Had fun.
To my grandmother because my grandmother was like right there. So I ran back to my grandmother and laid in her bed and she looked at me and she was, because she had some experiences too when she was growing up. So it was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? But after that night, I never seen it again. And I'm one of those little boys. I was never afraid of the dark. And even to this day, I'm still not afraid of the dark. And it's crazy to have those experiences and still not be afraid of the dark. But it is. But one of the things I learned about that whole experience when you're being held down, you can't yell, you can't do anything. Even if you open your eyes, you don't see anything, there's nothing. And I've learned that I put sage under my pillow. And I also put the sage, is mixed together, the sage and the clove around my entire bed or inside of my entire bedroom, or just even if you took a mountain of it and put it in every corner of your house or just in the 4 main corners that north, south, east, and west, would not have these experiences again. And I haven't had any more experiences since doing that.
Yeah, I love sage too. I love it. Yeah, I was looking for it. I knew I had sage still in storage. I couldn't find it yesterday. So I got to order some. It's really cool. These are the little helpers. And I think that's really important.
I like cinnamon. I have found some pure cinnamon incense. But that's another thing that I use. I also like those. And when I'm doing to my meditation, I surround myself with the clove and the sage, mixed up together because it creates a really extremely powerful barrier against anything that tries to come against you. Anything.
Right. Yeah, I think you would love. I was in Zanzibar, Tanzania last year. Spent a month there. You would love the spices there in the spice market because it's all, it's all organic, it's all natural, it's all from there. It's amazing. You go into this market. I mean, they sell about anything there. There's some piece, that anything you can imagine, really. But the spice portion is, oh my gosh, I brought back lots of little sachets, and stuff, and then for my family to gift them to them, because I was actually going back to Germany back then. So for all my siblings and my mother, I brought some stuff. Yeah, that was so nice. And they have this forest where there's an herb or a tree or a bush, whatever, for anything you can imagine, any disease, any ailment you can imagine. It is so fascinating. We have all these natural medicines, to call it something, remedies, and we're not always using them.
That's true. That is so true. A lot of us are not always. Well, we got to go back to what we just mentioned previously. A lot of people are not taught these things, so they don't know. But thank goodness for podcasts like this and many more people who actually speak on some of the same topics. People can learn from us.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful thing. A very beautiful thing. Ms. Huber, it is getting close to our time, so please, by all means, tell our people something that is a takeaway for you, one of the most inspiring things that you want people to learn from you or about you or just in general.
Yeah, so I think, one thing I always like to say, and I want to give this to our audience, is no one can empower you but yourself. So the bad news is no one else can empower you, but the good news is you can empower yourself. It's really up to you what you do with your life. You're supposed to work on a unique path. There's only one unique path that you're supposed to walk on. Don't allow yourself to be distracted from that. It's your path, nobody else's, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Very heartfelt. Very heartfelt. So please let the audiences know where they can actually reach you and learn more from you and about what you do.
Yes, and I hope you cannot hear that too much, but I also have some furniture moving now upstairs now, and these are literally paper ceilings here. Okay. I hope they're not falling down on me right now. That would not be a good thing. But anyway, thank you for giving me that opportunity. Yes, my website is transformyourperformance.com. My LinkedIn is Regina Huber, Huber. And my YouTube is at Regina Huber. You find a lot of career-related topics and videos there, but also how to harness your heart set, how to harness the power of your heart, and topics like this that, depending on what's relevant for you, go through the playlists maybe and pick what you like and what you could benefit from potentially. Then my book, of course, Speak Up, Stand Out, and Shine, is on Amazon. And and I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Regina Huber, for being a part of YTP Entertainment. It was definitely a blessing having the opportunity to speak with you, to learn more about you, and to have you delivering a powerful message to both our audiences. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. And please,
thank you.
Please don't be a stranger. You can shoot me a message or anything. I'm pretty much on all of the social media sites that you're on.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much. It's been such a delight. It's been a gift, an honor to co-create with you today, inspire our audiences together, and hopefully have lit a little spark in somebody.
Yes, I hope so too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, Miss Regina Huber, please go and check her information out. Do not fail to check out everything that Miss Huber has going on. And by all means, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications for both of us so you can see what we got coming up next. Peace and blessings. It's your boy YTP Entertainment, and we are out of here.